Please call the Advocate with your questions or comments at News Talk 1420 WHK at 888-281-1110. That's 888-281-1110. Or locally, 216-901-0945. And now, here's your host, Nick Phillips.
Tonight we're going to be talking about a couple of things in the second half hour. We're going to have Mr. Stephen Lee, who's talking about the money plan. You have to hear Stephen talk about his experience in Fortune 500 companies and making his millions of dollars. But his book gives us a basic chart on what we should be doing now. And one of the interesting things to listen to is that while we're saving and earning our money, we should live very frugally. You don't hear that very often. Anyway, that's at 8:30. But before that, we're going to talk about an important subject. Of course, all of our subjects are important, but this one is one that most people don't realize or think about, and that's the importance of judges. And not only how important judges are, and if you've been watching the case down in Florida with George Zimmerman and the role of that judge, and pretty much any case that's out there, the role of judges, these people have an immense amount of power and authority, and they bring finality to all the difficulties we have in getting along with each other on a day-to-day basis. But how do we choose those judges? That's the problem, because I think when we go to the voting polls and we get through all the ballots and we get to the end of the ballot and we see about 50 or 60 names, many people don't know who to select. Well, tonight we have two guests with us tonight. One is an experienced judge, Judge Kenneth Spanigal from the Parma Municipal Court, who happens to be a candidate for the 8th District Court of Appeals here in Cuyahoga County. And he has run many, many, many campaigns because judges here get elected. Judge Spanigal, good evening.
Good evening, Nick. Good to be here again.
Thanks for having you back with us here at the Advocate. And we have Denise Rini, who is a candidate for Juvenile Court. And Denise, how are you tonight?
Good. Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Now, Denise, is this your first campaign?
It is my first campaign.
Okay. The situation with running campaigns, let's get Denise's feeling so far. How do you like the campaign business?
Oh, it's more about meeting people, having them kind of know your ideas and your philosophies, what's important about juvenile court, why it's so important to investigate on the judges, and what about the court, because it's got private custody, abuse, neglect, dependency, and delinquency. So educating people is really, I enjoy that part of it. And the parades are kind of fun because you get a lot of candy and you give out candy. So.
Well, we were talking before we started the program that there's sort of two clusters of issues here. One, being competent to do the job and having to go in and do the work. The other thing is basically running a marketing campaign for yourself. And that's where you come up with, you have to do the parades and all that other stuff.
Correct. And that's the biggest challenge for me as a new person going into the campaign, is to be able to identify who votes. You know, in the primary, only 27% of Cuyahoga County voted.
And even of those, you wonder how many get down to the judicial portion of the ballot. Let me ask Judge Spanigal. You're our expert here only because you've been doing this for years and years. How many years have you been?
25th year now, and in some ways you're right, I'm an expert. This is new for me too because I'm a judge, but it's now a countywide race. I've only run in my district 5 times. So I am doing some of the same things Denise is doing, and getting the name beyond what is my court district to educate people about who I've been and what I am.
Well, let's take a couple of moments just to tell everybody who you are, because a lot of people might not know who Judge Ken Spanigal is. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been a judge for 25 years, had 5 separate elections. The municipal court handles civil cases under $15,000 and criminal misdemeanor cases, drunk driving, family violence, small claims, evictions. The municipal courts and county court equivalent in some counties is really the McDonald's of justice. We see more cases than other courts. The majority of people who have their interaction with the judicial system, unless someone is involved in divorce court or family court in some way, unwed families go through juvenile court with Denise, probate court should someone pass away, the majority of their involvement is with us. So we are the face that people see when they have an involvement with the system.
For an idea of the magnitude of cases, about how many cases come through your particular courtroom?
Well, the best way to do it would be statewide. There's about 3.5 million cases statewide of all courts. The municipal county courts of my level handle about 3.2 million of those. ensures the sheer volume.
And when we get to Parma Court, I know you just have a constant docket that's full.
Right, and I wish I would have brought my annual report, because we just got an annual report out as to last year. I know our caseloads are up because police ticket writing is up. Civil cases probably around 4,000 or 5,000 a year, much of which is credit card cases. And again, in the civil level, we see a lot of normal people who have credit card and other debt problems. Criminal traffic, 10 to 20,000 cases a year. The not guilties from all the suburbs, as well as all the Parma cases.
You're handling 10 to 20,000?
No, well, between the court altogether.
So there's 3 judges, so roughly around a third. That's still a hefty number of cases that you're dealing with. And now you're running for the Court of Appeals.
Correct.
And why the Court of Appeals, and what
well,
role does that have?
I've looked at appellate court races for a number of years. The appellate court is the judges that judge other judges. There's an assortment of previous judicial service people there, juvenile judges, common pleas judges, a number of muni court judges. Basically, the appellate court, anybody has the right to appeal a decision if you think the judge is wrong. The Court of Appeals, 3 judges of that court review the case and decide if the judge was right or wrong or not. And occasionally you hear appellate opinions of significance. A recent court cost case this week was in the paper. But each one's important to the litigants, and many times appellate courts make law so that an 8th District Cuyahoga County case, what we decide in the Court of Appeals, is law for the 8th District. There's statutory law, but much of the law is done through interpreting the statutes that are there, because you can't write the statute to include everything.
Well, it's interesting you use the term that you go to court, to the Court of Appeals to determine whether or not the judge made an error. You're basically at the Court of Appeals most times judging judges.
Correct.
And it's not that we don't like the result, so we want a new trial. It's more like, did the judge make a mistake is the question.
Or was the judge incorrect in the way he applied the law?
Well, let's turn to Denise. And Denise, you're an attorney. Have to be an attorney to be a judge.
That's correct.
Now, how long have you been an attorney, and what have you been doing?
Over 9 years. I have a small law firm, Bartos and Rini. We're about 7 attorneys. We concentrate on juvenile and domestic law. Everyone in my firm is a guardian ad litem, which means that we represent the children in court, and we represent what's in their best interest. We make a recommendation to the court to see. We have to do home visits, so I've been in homes from East Cleveland all the way to Bay Village, and I interview the children, I talk to them, I go talk to their counselors, I talk to their school, and then I go back to the court and I have to write a recommendation that basically states that, based on my investigation, where I think the child should either be in a private custody case or in an abuse, neglect, dependency case, whether Children and Family Services should take custody of the child or not.
Now, why would you want to go from private practice, where you control your own schedule and you do all of these things, to become a judge? Because now you become essentially a government worker working for the entire county, and you're hearing, again, you may be faced in the juvenile court with large numbers of cases that you have to process. What made you decide to do this?
Because juvenile court is so important. When we can address the issues that are facing the families and the children, we can really make some headway in putting these children on the right path. There is approximately 12,000 delinquency cases, and there's also approximately 12,000 private custody cases, along with child support and abuse, neglect, dependency. And when the parent hasn't done quite what they should with their child, we need to get these children educated, we need to get them the resources that they need, and we have to break the cycle.
We have a call from Paul from Atlanta, Georgia, and I think we'll just have enough time before our break to talk to Paul and find out what he has on his mind. Paul, how are you tonight?
I'm fine. I'm glad that you are having judges on. That's wonderful.
Are you actually in Atlanta, Georgia?
I am at this point, yes.
Oh, very good. Well, thanks for listening. You must be listening to us on the internet at WHKradio.com.
That is correct.
Before we take a commercial break here, give us an idea. What would you like to talk about?
Well, there is an organization that has that does evaluations of candidates for judges, and I'd like to hear Ms. Rini's explanation of that organization and how that organization rated her.
Very good. Well, we're going to be back. We're going to take a break. We're going to be back. We're talking to Denise Rini, a candidate for Cuyahoga County Juvenile Judge, and also to the Honorable Kenneth Spanigal, a candidate for the Cuyahoga County, the 8th District Court of Appeals. So You're listening to Nick Phillips here on The Advocate, WHK, live from Cleveland, Ohio tonight. So we'll be back after these words. Don't go away.
Come on in to the Islander and join us for our home-cooked $5 lunch specials every day. The Islander Grill is the ideal place to meet family and friends, as well as the place to hold your next business meeting or charity fundraiser. Good food at the right price, great friends, and a great location, where it's 5 o'clock all day, all year long. The Islander, the friendliest place in town, conveniently located at Pearl and 71 in Middleburg Heights. The Islander.
How's your back? Every day, thousands of people suffer with unrelenting back pain that takes time from their normal life. Dr. Patrick McCluskey and his staff at the Timber Ridge Neck and Back Pain Clinic provide the helping hands to relieve those nagging pains. Located in North Royalton at Sprague and York Roads, schedule an appointment today with the Timber Ridge Neck and Back Pain Clinic by calling 440-884-0083 for an appointment. That's 440-884-0083. Just imagine being neck and back pain free.
Sometimes you have to buy or sell your home, and when you do, you need a realtor who can be like a trusted friend. Tracy Marks of Howard Hanna Realtors has years of experience as a realtor and knows that besides experience, the trusted relationship between the realtor and her client will make this important job much easier to deal with. If you're faced with buying or selling a home, call Tracy Marks at 440-915-5417. That's Tracy Marks at 440-915-5417, or visit her website at tracymarks.com.
How important are your eyes? A regular eye checkup can identify problems with diabetes and other medical problems. It's more than just getting a new pair of glasses. With over 18 years of experience, Dr. Don Kammer is an advocate for quality eye care. He knows the value of receiving a comprehensive eye examination. Call Dr. Don Kammer for an appointment at either the Middleburg Heights Vision Clinic at 440-843-6900 or at his West Park office, 216-941-3303.
U.S. Wings, the world's leading authority on bomber jackets and aviation apparel. Founded in 1986 by Sergeant First Class David Hack, the United States Army's #1 recruiter from 1969 through 1973. U.S. Wings retail store is located at 561 East Hines Hill Road in Hudson, Ohio. Or go to their website, www.uswings.com. And please like them on Facebook. U.S. Wings, bomber jackets, flight jackets, and much more. Please call The Advocate with your questions or comments at News Talk 1420 WHK at 888-281-1110. That's 888-281-1110. Or locally, 216-901-0945. And now, here's your host, Nick Phillips.
Welcome back, Cleveland. Nick Phillips with you with another segment of The Advocate. And tonight we're talking about judges and judicial races. How do we elect them? And who are these people? Well, tonight we have Judge Ken Spanigal from the Parma Municipal Court, who's a candidate for the Court of Appeals here in Cuyahoga County. You also have Denise Rini, who's running for the Cuyahoga County Juvenile Court. Before the break, we had a call from Paul from Atlanta, Georgia, who was asking about judicial ratings and how we rate it. Who does judicial rating?
Finding information out about judges is somewhat difficult, but there's an organization called Judge for Yourself, and you can go to judgeforyourself.com. It's made up of 4 separate bars: the Cleveland Metro Bar, the Minor Bar, the Women's Bar, and the Defense Bar. And what they do is you go in front of them for approximately 20 minutes, and you explain your experience. You have to fill out a long questionnaire, and then they rate you. I happen to have had a 3.0, which is a very good rating, and it's so important for everyone to check out not only Judge for Yourself, but there's also a website called Judgepedia. There's also go to the individual candidate websites, and then there's a plain dealer endorsement. So you just have to keep searching.
When will the ratings be out for the November elections?
I believe our interviews are in June, so I believe they will come out sometime probably late August, early September.
Absentee balloting starts now in September. So most of the...
That's when the election starts then.
and in this day and age, 35-40% of the people vote absentee. And so they will probably be out late summer.
Well, good. We have several callers, so let's get to the callers. From South Euclid, we have Carl's on the line. Carl, thank you for holding. Carl.
I wanted to ask a question of Denise.
Go right ahead. Thank you for listening.
Denise, my name is Carl Nash. I've been practicing law for over 50 years. But when I was practicing in juvenile court, one of the problems we had was that all cases were scheduled at 9 o'clock, and then we would wait hours for our case to come up. And we used to say that in juvenile court, it's get there early but wait, just like in the Army. I wonder if you can tell me if they still do that, or if you have any plans for maybe scheduling cases closer to when people get there.
Well, very good. And Carl, did you say 50 years?
Oh, yes.
Well, thank you so much for your service. I'm an attorney, and I respect 50 years from anyone in this profession.
Okay.
So congratulations. And Denise, just to sort of piggyback on Carl's comment, lawyers bill by the hour many times. And if they're sitting cooling their heels in court, the people paying for that are our dear constituents here in Cuyahoga County, paying their lawyer fees. So go ahead and respond to Carl's.
That is one of the biggest complaints about juvenile court. There are 6 judges, and the 6 judges run their dockets however they see fit. It has gotten so much better because what occurs is that the judges are scheduling it more appropriately, and they're just not having a cattle call at 9 o'clock. Most of the judges are now doing certain days for their abuse, neglect, dependency docket, and then certain days, obviously, the emergency dockets have to be done every day, and then their delinquencies are on a certain day. So they are actually scheduling things instead of all at 9, they're 9, 10, 11, and 12. And I can honestly say that for the most part, it is improving day by day.
Very good. Carl, thank you.
I assume that if you're elected judge, you'll carry out that program.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, Carl.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl, very much. And we're going to try to get to other calls. We have from, looks like Carolyn from Cleveland Heights.
Hi, I have a call for...
Oh, is this Deanna? Okay, Deanna? Hello? Okay, we're waiting to see. Is this Deanna from Cleveland or Carolyn?
This is Carolyn from Cleveland Heights.
Hi, Carolyn. Thank you. We've been watching some names flip-flop here. Thank you for listening tonight. And who do you have a question for or comment?
I have a question for Denise Rini.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. There's been some recent articles in the Plain Dealer about the juvenile court system and some of the problems. And I wonder if elected, what you would do to make the juvenile court system work more efficiently.
Thank you. Go ahead, Denise.
Well, that's a really long answer.
We're trying to make the real short version.
The short version is the child support docket is backed up because of the number of cases. They've started now to do the abuse, neglect, dependency, and they're starting to kick them right over to child support. They're handled in 2 separate cases. So what I would like to do is take the custody and the abuse, neglect, dependency docket and do the child support at the same time so that all the magistrates in the child support docket do anywhere between 15 to 18 cases per day, which is a lot. And that's why it takes sometimes a year to 18 months to get in, especially if you continue the first case.
Well, very good. Judge Ken, any comment?
Well, Ginny, is that, in other words, whether you have 2 or 3 things with one child, do them all together?
That's also a problem because many times that each child is assigned their own case number. And so
you have 3 children in a family, you've got 3 different cases, but the problems are the same, where in theory you blend them in.
And even sometimes they might have different moms and the child support side, and instead of putting them all together and handling them all, they might do the contempt motion separately. So that's 3 separate dates.
Very good.
I think it's important, a lot of people, when I talk to people about juvenile court, that's the bad kids. Well, it's not just the bad kids. It's not just the kids that get traffic tickets or the bad kids you read about in the paper. It's kids at risk, kids at need. And the juvenile court, I was used to analogize with now appellate Judge Rock, who used to be juvenile. This is trench warfare. Juvenile court is the first line of trenches to get people so that they don't grow up to be the bad people that we don't want them to be. And there's a lot of things they do there, and they try to do a lot of good.
And I have to say it's really important for our appellate division because they interpret what decisions the judges make in juvenile court. And it's so important for them to really understand what we're dealing with.
It all works. Deanna, thank you for your call. Carolyn?
That was Carolyn.
That was Carolyn. Oh, now we have Deanna. Who do we have? Teresa?
Hello, this is Deanna.
Deanna, you're with us. Okay. We're watching numbers flip here. Deanna, thank you for calling. What's your question?
I have a question for Miss Rini.
as a voter, why should I care who is in juvenile court?
Oh, excellent question. And I think we can expand that question for any judge, because they're all voted for by the electorate. So, yes, Denise, tell us a little bit about why we should care about who our judges are.
Well, I'm going to do the short version. If you have children, obviously it's important to know the juvenile court judges. But I'm going to kick that over to Judge Spanigal, because why is it important? Why do they care?
I think every judge, you should care. We do have a lot of popularity contests in judicial races. Recently, a very popular judge was indicted, almost won the election even though she wound up being convicted. You got to know who they are, know what they do, and talk to other people. And I always tell people, you want to know good judge candidates, talk to your family lawyer. Your lawyer will tell you, hey, what do you know about Judge Nick Phillips or Nick Phillips for judge? And I'll say, hey, I've known Nick. He's a good person. He'd make a good judge. I know the kind of practice he has. You find the same thing. Every judicial seat's important, whether it's my world in traffic court in OVI or juvenile or common pleas or appellate.
Oh, that's true. The thought of electing judges the way we do it, and we mentioned earlier it being a marketing campaign, you have to look through the marketing campaign and find out who has judicial temperament, who has the essentially the intellectual horsepower to be a judge, not just someone who wants an elected office and a paycheck. We have another call from Teresa from Cleveland. Teresa, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Thank you for calling. Thank you for listening. You have a question?
Well, I just really had a comment. I was fortunate enough to have Ms. Denise Rini work on a case for me and my son, and I just can't more highly recommend her. She was very invaluable for many years, actually. I was tied up in court for quite a while. And one of the things that was most eye-opening for me was when I was in court and we were dealing with a magistrate at the time, he did not know the law. I was totally amazed. And Ms. Rini was able to, I remember being in court and the magistrate said, well, I don't see this in the law. You have to show it to me. And Ms. Rini, politely showed her what the statute was. And that was eye-opening experience for me, because I thought all the people that sat on the bench would at least know what Ohio law is. And I just can't more highly recommend Ms. Rini for the position.
Well, thank you for calling. Well, thank you for calling very much. The thought of having people run for judges in a courtroom, in a court where they have experience, is vitally important. And as an elector, we really need to look into that. We have one more call. We have a call from Dr. Branch from Arkansas tonight. Dr. Branch.
Hello, Attorney Phillips.
Yes, how are you, Dr. Branch? Thank you for calling.
Well, you're more than welcome. I'm very good. I actually have a question for Judge Ken Spanigal.
Yes, he's right here.
Yes, sir. Your Honor, have you, since you're running for Court of Appeals, have you had any of your cases sent up and overturned?
Yeah, once or twice. I have a running joke with my fellow judges. Very rarely do I get an appeal up, let alone reversed. Part of that's what we call reversal insurance. If you take the time to write a good decision, usually people say I may disagree with it, but it's a reasoned decision. The only one recently I was actually reversed on is a case involving Ohio Bell Telephone and CEI arguing over a wire on a pole. In Cuyahoga County, municipal court judges can do equitable jurisdiction. And I had said there's what's called the 1925 Pole Agreement. I says it should go to the PUCO. The Court of Appeals disagreed with me, but my friend Larry Jones of the Court of Appeals read a great dissent agreeing with me. But there's a trial in a couple weeks, so I'm not allowed to talk about it beyond that.
Very good. I understand.
Good. Dr. Branch, thank you for calling. We're going to be taking a break. But Dr. Branch, thanks for calling from Arkansas for us.
You're more than welcome. It's great listening to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we're going to take a break now, and we're going to thank our guest tonight, Doctor.
Well, we are doctors of law. That's true.
Yeah, we're all doctors here. We're all Juris Doctors here. But, Your Honor, Judge Kenneth Spanigal, and also
Thanks.
Denise Rini.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We'll be back after these words with Stephen Lee talking about the money plan, so don't go away.